GamingBolt presents 15 amazing facts you probably didn't know about the Yakuza series. Sega has made its share of mistakes, but one franchise it's consistently done well with is Yakuza. This tale of honor, treachery, and violence set among organized crime syndicates in Japan has given us some great games, but what are a few things you probably didn't know about the series? Let's take a look at its illustrious history to find out. Characters modeled after real actors. Getting the likenesses right for a group of badasses like the Yakuza cast isn't easy. However, it's interesting to note how many of the characters are modeled after and voiced by well-known Japanese actors. Takeshi Kitano, for instance, serves as the template and voice for Toru in Yakuza 6: The Song of Life. Meanwhile, Riki Takeuchi lends his face and voice to Daiki Awano in Yakuza 0. Kiryu's face. Kazuma Kiryu has been one of the more underrated yet iconic characters in modern gaming. His look is also based off his voice actor, namely Takaya Kuroda. However, Kuroda only started serving as the face for Kiryu from Yakuza Kenzan, which released in 2008. Given that Yakuza 1 and 2 are the only games which don't have Kuroda's face as Kiryu's, he's pretty much become the de facto mascot for the series. Like a dragon. Another fun Kazuma Kiryu fact. His name translates to like a dragon. Producer Toshihiro Nagoshi, who came up with the name, revealed that it was because dragons had a powerful image. Thus did the name make Kiryu come across as more strong and manly. Granted, with all the nonsense he's had to punch through in his lifetime, Kazuma Kiryu definitely fits. Yakuza 1's budget was 2.4 billion yen. Though the Yakuza series has never really been considered big budget, it is interesting to learn that the first game's budget was 2.4 billion yen, or 21 million US dollars, when it released in 2006. This is because the budget for Shenmue, which released in 1999 for the Sega Dreamcast, was about 47 million to 70 million. Some of the cost went towards Shenmue 2, but after both games didn't exactly rake in the sales for Sega, it's understandable why it scaled things back slightly for Yakuza. Removed scenes. The first Yakuza wasn't for the squeamish, but it had even more brutal scenes than were reasonably allowed for its age rating. The game was meant to include scenes where pinky fingers were chopped off, which is in keeping with the traditional punishment for Yakuza. Such scenes would be removed, however, and thus did Yakuza reach a wider audience. SPIKEOUT Digital Battle Online. Have you ever heard of SPIKEOUT Digital Battle Online? Released in 1999 for arcades, it was directed by Yakuza producer Toshihiro Nagoshi. The overall combat is somewhat similar to Sega's own Streets of Rage games, but SPIKEOUT's combat ideas would eventually serve as the basis for Yakuza 1's combat. Does that make Yakuza the spiritual successor to Streets of Rage? Well, no, but it is a fun thing to ponder. Yakuza 3's 360 characters. Yakuza 3 would be the first title in the series to release for PlayStation 3, and suffice to say, the development team put in the work to make it look good. One highlight was the game's high polygon characters, since they had to appear in event scene cinematics. These characters, of which there were 110, used between 18,000 and 20,000 polygons each, and were rendered in real time with realistic facial expressions. However, an additional 250 minor characters were also created thanks to the effort of 60 teams. In the end, the game had 360 characters, but still managed to release less than a year after Yakuza Kenzan. Majima, the non-boss. Goro Majima, you know him, probably you love him, or probably hate him. He's been a mainstay through the Yakuza franchise for a long time, but if you don't include Yakuza 0, then Yakuza 6 would be the first time that Majima isn't a boss. In Yakuza 0, you actually play as Majima during certain points. Tracing his backstory, Majima the Multi-Talented. That all being said, Majima has had several roles throughout the series. He's been a regular boss that you fight en route to the big bad, a game-ending boss, an AI-controlled partner that'll help you in fights, and, as noted before, a playable character with his own missions and backstory. Until now, Majima is the only character in the franchise who's been as much of a mainstay as Kiryu. Majima and Kiryu, with bonus Mark Hamill. Though Majima is kind of misunderstood, especially given the conflicts he's endured in Yakuza 0, he's still pretty unstable. His constant laughing, especially at his own pain, and determination to defeat Kiryu is well known. In fact, he hates Kiryu so much that he'll fight anyone who's trying to get in his way. However, he also believes that he's the one who must kill Kiryu, going as far as to almost die to save the latter. Given that Majima is voiced by Mark Hamill, better known as the Joker, and Yakuza 1's English dub, this is all probably not that surprising. Akiyama's playable appearances. You may think that Majima Goro has it all in the series, having a significant role in pretty much every game. However, Shun Akiyama has actually been a playable character in the series as much as Majima has. Akiyama can be controlled in Yakuza 4, 5, and Dead Souls, while Majima is also playable in Dead Souls along with Yakuza 0 and Kiwami. Akiyama's shortness of breath. Speaking of Akiyama, he made his debut in Yakuza 4 and had a relatively strong impact as a new character. As lone agent and friend to Kiryu, one interesting trait of Akiyama's has been his shortness of breath. If you pay enough attention though, you'll notice that this is likely due to his smoking habits. It's one of those small details that seems to slip under the radar. Localization tales. Sega has been a little weird when it comes to localizing its Yakuza series. Due to the failure of Yakuza Dead Souls, Sega revealed that it wouldn't bring other games abroad and even removed the English websites for Yakuza. However, when Sony's own third-party relations asked players about the games they wanted localized, Ryu ga Gotoku 5 was the most requested. Sega would eventually cave and announce Yakuza 5's localization in 2014. Thanks to the demand for the game, Sega decided to release Yakuza 0 for English-speaking audiences as well, which went on to become a massive success. Thanks to this, Yakuza Kiwami and the recent Yakuza 6 have also been localized, with Yakuza Kiwami 2 on the way in August. Yakuza 3's NIXED English dub. Yakuza 2 released in 2006 for the PS2 and was generally seen as a massive improvement over the first game. One of its more defining traits was the lack of an English dub, which, given the horrible dub from the first game, was kind of a blessing. However, Sega noted in a 1UP podcast from 2010 that it would have English voiceovers for Yakuza 3. That didn't end up happening, but given how much the costs were stated to be at the time, and how the Japanese voiceovers were better received anyhow, it all worked out. Yakuza ISHIN skipping the West. Of all the Yakuza games, there are 3 that have the distinction of releasing only in Japan. These are Kurohyo Ryu ga Gotoku Shinso, Yakuza Kensan, and Yakuza ISHIN. The latter 2 are probably requested more due to the acclaimed sword combat and period drama. Interestingly, producer Toshihiro Nagoshi said at one point that he wanted Yakuza ISHIN to release in the United States. So, why didn't that happen? Well, it's because the development team, which isn't very big, also handles translation and localization. Yakuza 5 wasn't even planned for release outside of Japan because the team chose to focus on Yakuza ISHIN instead. There are still no plans for Yakuza ISHIN or Kensan to release in the West, unfortunately.
And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.